some last minute promotions on the socials. Thank you for joining me tonight. It's not a happy Friday if you're a Met fan. Yet another loss, and Carlos Mendoza gets canned. Jeez, we're gonna talk about it. I gotta vent about it at least. It's the least I have to do as a Met fan, but a lot of trades going on in the NBA this week. We're gonna touch on that a little bit, talk about the World Cup, and whatever else we get into on this wonderful Friday night. Thank you for joining me live on Twitch and YouTube. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment, live recording of episode 81 of the Epis Sports Podcast coming up. Jesus Christ! Chicago White Sox 18-1 against Kansas City in the bottom of the seventh with loaded bases and 1 out. They're not done yet. Oh my God. What's going on? How you doing, everybody? What's going on? About to hit this intro. You know I'm gonna rip into the Mets a little bit. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to. And I'm not ripping into Carlos Mendoza. That is not the person to blame here. What a crazy time to be alive if you're a Met fan. And if you're a Nick, Jet, Met, Ranger fan, it's even worse like I am. At least you have the Knicks winning a championship, us turning that page. But then it's over, and it comes to an end, right? And here's the off season, and now as the Met fan, this is all you have to look forward to here in the summer. I guess you got the Jets to look forward to, but well, needless to say, just about ready to go here. Thank you for joining me, as always. Couldn't be more grateful. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and follow. And here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's kick this episode 81, live recording, off as we always do. Keep showing up.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped? Here we go. Epis Radio. Epis Radio. Matty B. Epis Radio. Epis Radio. You from NYC? Epis Radio. Epis Radio. Matty B.
Well.
Epis Radio.
It finally happened, everybody. What's going on? It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment. Thank you for joining me for the live recording of episode 81 of the Epis Sports Podcast. Carlos Mendoza has been relieved of his duties, and he is the official fall guy for David Stearns and the Steve Cohen tenured Mets. I guess you had to see it coming at some point. The Mets haven't fired a coach in season since 2008, but I guess they had no choice at this point. I'll give credit to Evan Roberts for bringing up a good point today, earlier on his show on WFAN, And he's exactly right about it, and that's why I'm referencing it now. A little too late. They should have done this when they were at the bottom portion of the league, tied with the Phillies back when they were 9-16 earlier in the season. And again, it has really not much to do with Carlos Mendoza. I don't think he is the problem here. But if there was ever a time to do it, why now? When seemingly they're at a season worst, 13 games under 500. Actually, it's 14 right with tonight's loss. The record is going nowhere. They're just seemingly falling apart in the last week or so, getting swept by the Cubs on the season, not just the series that they had with them. Nothing seems to be working, even in the return. Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, you finally have those two in the lineup. The pitching has been abysmal. And again, we look back to before the season when David Stearns completely obliterated the core of this team and changed up the tune and had high expectations. And albeit I did too a little bit, but still, you had to question whether or not these guys would gel. It's a whole new roster, essentially, out of, Soto, Lindor, and a couple others. The pitching staff has, outside of McLean, has been atrocious. They just trade David Peterson. Why not? They might as well trade Peralta at this point. That's the least David Stearns could do, is actually cash in on some of these guys right now. And, if he's going to stay here, switch it up a little bit and change it and do something. But going back to Evan Roberts' point that it was a little too late. Take, for example, the Phillies. All right. They go out and fire Rob Thompson on April 28th when the Phillies and the Mets were at the bottom of the league, both 9-16. And Don Mattingly takes over the team and it completely transforms the club. They start to go on a historic run. They've been great. And now they're just a couple of games out. And after a win tonight, I don't know what the Braves did. I'll check. Or if they're still playing at the moment, I'm not sure. But it's very possible for them. A team that was at the same spot. Now, I'm not saying the Mets could have, if they fired Mendy, they would have gone on a historical run like we're seeing with the Phillies. The Phillies, all in all, pound for pound, are a better team than the New York Mets. They have better pitching. They have a true ace in Zach Wheeler. You've seen him tonight. Man, do I miss Zach Wheeler. They have... They pound for pound, they could go up against the Mets' big boppers in Soto and Lindor. No problem. You got Schwarber. You got Harper. And you have guys up and down that lineup that are reliable as well. Maybe not hitting for great average, but this is a team that can score, no doubt. You have a great closer in Duran. The bullpen. All right, I don't know. Maybe, there's a couple of bright spots with the Mets when it comes to the bullpen. Brazaban's have been, phenomenal. But all in all, the Phillies are a much better team than the Mets. At least for this year. It's not the case last year. I can't agree to that last year. But it's a complete, with Alonso gone, Nimmo gone, McNeil gone. It's a completely different look on this lineup. Polanco's been unavailable. That's a Stearns move. Bichette, Stearns. He lets Edwin Diaz go. Williams, it's been good at times. He's been pretty much as advertised as what we've seen him from the Yankees. Like I said, the bullpen is it really hasn't been the Mets' problem. It's been the injury-prone lineup, and you can't blame it all injuries. But you look at a homegrown guy like a Pete Alonso, who's having a great year now. It's a bit of a slow start with the Orioles, but then he turned it up as he normally does. We've seen that year and year again with Pete. I think he's got 18 home runs, right? I don't know what he's doing tonight. Orioles won tonight 3-1. Let's see if Pete, what did he do? Nothing. 0 for 2, 2 walks, 2 Ks. Again, Pete Alonso, 252 on the year, 18 home runs, 55 RBIs, OPS 814. It's better than Polanco. All right. Carlos Mendoza was not the problem here. He was a fall guy. They had no choice. It's like when you look at this situation with Stearns and Cohen, I don't know. I don't understand it. And Mendy didn't deserve it. Yeah, you could question whether or not he made some bad calls every now and then. Leaving a guy in too long, or not leaving him long enough. Couple of roster moves, whatever. Taking guys out of the lineup, giving a rest day. Taking a arm out the game, a bullpen arm out the game when he shouldn't have. I think he's a well-spoken man, and I think he's shown that he can be good. He also has a winning record, with the Mets. Had a great year in 2024. Had a great start to 2025, but clearly ended in absolute catastrophe with the season ending on the last game of the season. In the regular season, and missing the playoffs. And this year, there was a glimpse of hope at the very beginning, and then they quickly fizzled out, and it just hasn't panned out since then. The Mets obviously dealt with the injury, Soto leaving. When Soto's in the lineup, the Mets win. Not tonight, but statistically, it is astronomical in the numbers, in the Mets win-loss ratio when Soto's in the lineup. So it's night and day. But is that going to save their season now? Is Andy Green taking over, a VP of player development for the Mets, who was once head coach for the San Diego Padres? Is he the answer? Is he going to help change the tune in the clubhouse? Probably not. I just don't think this team is good of us. I was wrong. Good of us. I just don't think this team is good enough. I was wrong about them. I had much higher hopes, but I guess I was just looking at the talent standpoint, maybe the analytics of it all, without actually looking and dissecting the analytics like a David Stearns would. No availability is not a good thing. When you have a guy like Polanco, you bring in and you replace him with Pete Alonso, who was there every single game of every single year, for the most part, right? Availability is better than no availability, in my book. And when you're putting up the numbers like he's putting up, Pete's on pace for 100 plus RBIs easy. Could be a 40 home run guy again. It's pretty status quo for Pete. And all for what? You didn't even offer him a contract. Was it worth it? And we're going to play some audio. I'm going to hear, we'll get statements from everybody. It's a little bit of state in the Mets right now. Jesus Christ, 22-1. Chicago White Sox over Kansas City, top of the 8. Ended. It's over. Just like, why are we even playing at that point? Again, Mets, typical Mets. here we are, June 26th. 14 games under 500 now, and seemingly no hope to shake things up, a last resort. We fire Mendy when in reality it should be Stearns. And Stearns, I get it, hasn't been around for long either. It's just about as long as Mendy. And again, the success of 2024, which was an inherited team, and the downfall of 2025, and here we are. It's long enough for Stearns. It's been long enough. And it's seemingly like we're on a downward trend. The big splash was obviously Juan Soto, but the caveat to that was blowing up the core. And now I guess you're building a new core, but how long is it going to take? This wasn't what we were promised by Steve Cohen. And bad on Steve, to promise us a World Series in 5 years. But this is not looking promising. And the moves that he made this year just were a bit of before the year started, it's a bit of a head scratcher. He finally admits and somewhat apologizes today, in which I'll cue up for you guys. But for me, it's just again, like Evan Roberts said, it's a little too late. And I think really what needs to happen is Stearns being let go. Does Cohen make that move now? It doesn't seem like he's going to make that move here during the regular season. Maybe he makes it in the off season. Stearns was actually asked why, or whether or not he should, step down. A reporter actually asked him, should any consideration in you stepping down? Of course, the guy's going to say no. But it's kind of funny that somebody took that shot and went for, oh boy, there's a Juan Soto post game mic as well on Carlos Mendoza. This is interesting. There's a lot of sound bites going on. I'll try to get to all of it. I don't want to spend too much time. I do want to get to the NBA trades, things like that tonight. I don't have all the time in the world. And, talk a little bit about World Cup. We're not going to, just dissect play-by-play about the World Cup and all that. Maybe as we get into the later rounds, we'll get more in depth about that. Obviously, USA losing to Turkey, Ecuador with a big win yesterday. Haven't really been up to speed of what's going on today. I think the Haaland and Mbappe matchup didn't happen. A lot of fans are upset about that. Haaland decided to sit out in a game that kind of mattered. They knew they would mathematically were into the next round, but they, I think, chose to sit him, knowing conceding the second slot in the group to advance into the round of 32, which is interesting. That's kind of a lack of competitive edge on Haaland's part. Mbappe, France go out there and they win big. I forget what's his name I believe had a hat trick tonight. One of their other star players, forgetting the name off the top. Forgive me. Football is not my first sport, but I know enough. All right, but I did want to talk about World Cup, the atmosphere, the fans, the passion, and how nice it's been to see them celebrate here on U.S. soil and all that. It's been fun. I'm hoping I'm going to California in a couple of weeks with my wife. I'm hoping to maybe just catch some of that atmosphere in San Francisco at Levi Stadium over there and just go check it out. Maybe even go to a game if I can. Again, trying to queue up this stuff right now for you. I want to get... There's no way that's the last stuff I have. What? It's probably this. Yeah, there we go. All right. Linda Cohen, ESPN analyst, announcer, all that, she is stepping down. Today was her last day. Good shout out to her, man. If you're familiar with ESPN, it's sad day to see her go. I don't really watch ESPN too much anymore, but of course, I'll never forget Linda Cohen. She has been around for a very, very long time. One of the many female voices now at ESPN, and one of the longest tenured for sure, if not the longest at this point. And stepping down today was her final day at ESPN. So if you get a chance, get some highlights about that. If I have time, I'll play the touching tribute for her towards the end. All right. I do have one soundbite of Stearns here. I'm trying to get the other one from earlier today. Yeah, I got Gary's take on the whole situation. Steve Gilbs. Apparently, Albert Pujols is interested in the Mets managerial job. And that's interesting. Okay, I got the soundbite here. Apologize for the delay. Again, if you're here with me live on Twitch and YouTube, drop a comment. If you're interested in what we're talking about now, Carlos Mendoza, you don't care about it, you want to bring something else up, let me know. Drop it in the comments. You can call in if you like. Let me know. Just type in call in. We'll get that set up. And yeah. Thank you for showing up as always. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, the whole nine, follow. Happy Friday. That's a beautiful thing. Friday's here. All right. Here's David Stearns. He accepts the responsibility for the Mets' struggles. Oh, finally. Thank you, David.
All of our efforts, Mendy's included, we haven't been able to get this going this year.
No shit.
I take responsibility for that. Ultimately, everything that occurs in baseball operations, including our major league record, is my responsibility. I also have a responsibility to push us forward, to look for solutions, and to make difficult decisions and change when I think it's needed. I understand there's no magic bullet here. There's no one change that immediately is going to turn this around. This is incremental. This is day to day. This is doing the work every single day to get us back on track. Despite all of our efforts, Mendy's included, we haven't been able to get this going this year.
Yeah, one more time.
I take responsibility for that. Ultimately, everything that occurs in baseball operations, including our major league record, is my responsibility. I also have a responsibility to push us forward, to look for solutions, and to make difficult decisions and change when I think it's needed. I understand there's no magic bullet here. There's no one change that immediately is going to turn this around. This is incremental. This is day to day. This is doing the work every single day to get us back on track.
Thank you, David. I do have another sound bite real quick. Let me pass that over. I'm going to unpack that in a second, but I do want you guys to hear this sound bite as well.
David, you said you consider it a partnership with Mendy. That said, have you considered stepping aside? Is that something you've thought about?
I have not.
Why not?
I have not.
I believe
Look at that smile. Look at that
that
smile.
we are building the foundation of an organization that can deliver what we all want.
There you go.
I don't believe that our record on the field this year is indicative of some of the advancements that we've made in an organization, but clearly our record is nowhere good enough.
David,
Clearly.
you said you consider it a partner.
Phenomenal question right there by whoever that was. Does it say? Let's say. No. Someone's burning some firewood right now. I smell that. That's beautiful. So before I play some other clips and things like some other reactions from Mets personnel, the whole line, I got some soundbite from Lindor, Soto, Gary Cohen, Steve Gelbs. You heard the man. He accepts responsibility and apologizes, essentially, but at the same token, believes that they are building the foundation to better success. I don't see how you feel that way when you're now 14 games under 500 after tonight's loss and seemingly not improving. You know, they're on pace for 68 wins this year. Like that's an improvement after what happened last year. I don't know how, Cohen can seriously listen to this and have faith in this man. Where's the angle that he's coming from? Where's the faith that he has in Stearns? He needs to break up with him. Cohen has done a lot of talking, especially towards the Mets fans. Pretty silent right now. And I wonder why. They don't really. But where you at, man? Shake it up. Maybe you don't fire Stearns now, but something needs to change. And I'm not sure in off-season, at least this upcoming off-season, I'll see it. We've seen a bit of youth movement with the Mets, reluctantly, because they truthfully had no choice. And you're seeing some bright spots, no doubt. But it's not the answer. This pitching is atrocious. Even Peralta, a Stearns guy, Stearns move where it's like, it's just not quite working out. And he might be trade bait. He might as well should be. Along with Bichette at this point, come the trade deadline. Because, I just don't see it. They lose tonight, 2-1. The offense looks... I mean, listen, I know Zach Wheeler's on the mound, and you can't really take much stock in that always. And, tough day in Metland, for these players, losing their coach. And I'll, play a bit of a soundbite there from Lindor, from Soto. You'll get the gist of it. You get the feel of it. So it's tough. It's hot out, muggy night. And, you got a hot Phillies team coming in there with the ace on the mound. What did you really expect? Classical, 2-1 win for the Phillies over the Mets. Again, typical Mets to fire Mendoza on a Friday, hoping that they can, just dump this news into the weekend. And because that's what you do on a news dump. You dump it on a Friday, hoping that it's become less of a story over the weekend. And come Monday, but listen, it's all we, in New York town at least, this is all we have to talk about at this point. Unless the Mets have a weekend and somehow take 2 out of 3 against the Phils and turn it around and they look good offensively and all of a sudden they got a spark. I'm considering going on Sunday's game. Haven't really been to a lot of games this year, only one with my wife and daughter. We're thinking about taking Maeve again Sunday. They got a little Toy Story hat giveaway. So we're kind of excited about that. I could care less about the game. So we're really interested in that. But unless the Mets take 2 out of 3 here and show us something, I have zero faith. Zero faith at this point. So we'll see. But I don't think Mendoza was the problem here. I think all credit is to Stearns and the construction of this ball club, putting the stock that he did in the analytics and you know. I mean, the Mets are amongst the highest of all payroll in all of baseball. I mean, that's the biggest problem of it all. It's not like this is a team, small market team, that's a little bit penny pinching and Stearns is kind of limited to what he can do. He's got all the money in the world. He's got all the money in the world. He's had a couple of years to mess around with it. And what has it got you? Nothing. I get it. Soto, very expensive. They went out on a limb. He's performed well. But again, you didn't have to make all the moves you did. Not all of those moves were necessary. At the very least, bringing back Pete, you got to admit that would have at least kept them in contention. You assume that he would have been able to put up similar type numbers here at City, just being the fact that he's homegrown, been here, and comfortable with the Mets. You look what he's been able to do in a new city. Not too far, albeit, but, new club, new city, the whole nine. Not always easy to make that transition. And when you look at Pete Alonso's numbers on the year, it almost seems as if it hasn't affected him one bit. Nimmo's having a decent Nimmo year. McNeil has been terrible out in Oakland. So, and Edwin Diaz has been unavailable due to injury. So it's not all bad when you break it all down. But again, at least when you look at Alonso, the Polanco situation, the carousel that we have at first base, you see Vientos in there last night making errors. I mean, it's been embarrassing. Well, the Mets had like 6 errors last night. I mean, this is what it's come down to. And you got this little prick, David Stearns, up there smirking, saying that he believes that he has built a foundation or building a foundation to better success for this team. A team that is currently on a pace to win 68 games. Nasty, what's going on, bro? How you doing? Thank you for joining me tonight. Stearns should have been the one to get fired. You damn straight, Nasty. And that's true, and that's what we're talking about here for the first, 30 plus minutes of this show. Mendoza was the fall guy, no doubt about it. Again, I'll reiterate and give props to Evan Roberts on WFAN for bringing up that talking point that too little too late with this. They should have done it early in the year when the Mets Phillies, they were sharing a 9-16 wonderful record. Phillies made the decision to fire Thompson. Look what that did for them. Changed the trajectory of their season. Albeit they added Don Mattingly right there ready to step in. That's a lot different than Andy Green for the Mets. And, like I said earlier, the Phillies are just all in all a better team. I can't say the same thing last year. The Mets were, in my opinion, the better team last year. They just fell short and collapsed. Certainly back in 2024, they were primed and ready. They just ran into a great Dodgers team and lost in the NLCS in 6. But it's gone downhill from there. Again, Stearns has done nothing outside of acquiring Soto and gutting the core of this team. and constructing a pitching staff outside of the bullpen that is incompetent. The only bright spot this year has been Noel McLean. I guess you could throw Christian Scott in there as well. They trade Peterson again in just recent days. There you go. Peterson's out. Senga, I mean, he's reduced to a minor leaguer at this point. I don't know if the trade rumors are true, but apparently people are circulating online that Kodai Senga asked to be traded either to a different major league team or back to the Japan League, which I don't think is probably a fake rumor circulating, especially how atrocious he has been. Sean Manaea, velocity has eluded him, hasn't been the same. It goes on and on. The only bright spot of this team at times is Juan Soto and the bullpen. You got some good arms in the bullpen that have done some good things. And at this point, if Stearns knew anything, he would look at these pieces and potentially look to move them. Like a Brazaban, like a Weaver. Screw it, throw in Devin Williams. Freddie Peralta, Bo Bichette. Get him out of here. Even Lindor. You know, a good friend of mine earlier today. Fuck it, trade Lindor too. You know what? I agree. Shake it up, because if you're still here, you better do something. You want to really gut the core? Gut the damn core. Build around Soto, switch it up entirely, because at this point, I don't have any faith that this team turns it around in the next 2 or 3 years. I don't. Not while he's around, at least. He hasn't shown me anything to really prove that. So the pessimistic Met fan in me is looking towards 2030, 2031, I feel like. And then we'll see, you know, the Mets turn in a new leaf, which is a stark contrast to what Steve Cohen had promised us, a championship in the first 5 years. Soto wasn't expecting this crap. Nasty from Twitch. Yeah, you damn straight. I mean, he, you know, and while you say that, it's probably a great time to cue up his sound bite from, I believe this was from the post game, right after tonight's game. Where is it? I just had it before. There we go. Yeah. And I'm kind of reacting to this with you guys listening to me here all live on Twitch and YouTube. Again, thank you for joining us.
Overall, just what were your emotions, reaction when you got the news that Mendoza was let go?
I mean, it sucks, you know. It's tough to see a guy like that. I mean, I was really close with him. I talked to him a lot, and then get to see him go is really tough.
Do you expect any sort of move to be made, given just how inconsistent you guys have been?
No, at all. No, at all. I mean, it's move every day. It's here. I mean, you see bullpen guys going up and down, and trays and like relievers getting moved to the bullpen, or starters already moving to the bullpen. Like you're always expecting those moves, but seeing Mendoza, it's just tough.
You had a chance to talk to Carlos yet?
I did.
What did you able to share what you told him?
Not much, but you know how much I really appreciate what he did for me, you know, and like he was one of the guys who helped me to feel comfortable in this clubhouse and welcome me in the best way. So I was just thanking him for that.
Overall, just what were your emotions, reaction?
There's Soto comments. And you know what? I mean, it seems like he actually does care a bit. I've seen, it's funny, by the way, you see the comments on the right-hand side about fire David Stearns. There you go. That's what we want to see. Everybody knows it. The fan base knows it, all right? Get rid of Stearns at this point. Mendoza wasn't the problem. But, you know, pretty pretty standard right there from Soto. I doesn't seem happy. Um, there's no indication that Soto and Mendoza didn't have a good relationship. Seemed like they got along very well, and he doesn't seem very happy about it. He harps on the fact that it's very common to see relievers, bullpen guys, starting pitchers, get sent up and down, which is to me, if he's highlighting that, it's a bit of a concern because a good team that doesn't necessarily happen quite a lot. Obviously, back end bullpen guys every now and then, spot starter, that's to be expected. But the movement from the Mets organization this year, and that not only coming from the pitching side of things, but offensively, with the youth movement, we've seen guys being sent up, down. There's a lot, but one thing you don't really expect is a lot of movement with management. And Mendoza, again, if they weren't going to do it earlier in the season, why now? Did you really think now was the time? Like that this was enough for you? As if, being 9-16, 7 games under, 500 then early on the season where you still have time to maybe shake it up, get a little out of your guys. You wait till we're near the All-Star break and there's seemingly no hope. I guess mathematically it's possible. And again, who knows? I could be wrong. Maybe the Mets go on a run here and they win, 7, 8 games straight. I don't see that happening. I'm not making a bold prediction that, the Mets are all of a sudden turning it around. But I don't know, maybe that does happen, and all of a sudden we're looking at a wild card position, and hey, there's a hope and optimism, and Soto's hitting well, and Lindor's hitting well. I don't know, and the kids are doing their thing, and then all of a sudden the pitching is back. Maybe. Do I have any reason to believe that is the case? Absolutely no, not in the slightest. Do I want to believe? Sure, as the pitiful Met fan, coming off a wonderful Knicks championship. This is now all I have to look forward to here in the summer. And yeah, this is why we're here on a Friday night venting about it. Nasty, didn't expect it now if it didn't already happen. Absolutely, man. Mendy, you know Mendy. Nasty, I know you're a Yankee fan. Mendy. Great dude. A lot of respect for him. I'm not going to look back on his tenure here with the Mets and say, oh, he was this and that. Yeah, sure. Were there times where he made some questionable moves, left an arm, a little too long or not long enough, and you could question the position of lineup and guys playing in certain spots, whatever, what have you. But he was always well spoken, well mannered. And I don't, maybe he's not the rah-rah guy like a Terry Collins like the Mets have had in the past, or a Bobby Valentine, all that. Okay, maybe. I don't know if that's the driving force behind, getting the best out of this lineup and this team and this organization. I don't think it truly mattered. I think there needs to be blame on the person who constructed the team. And when you got guys like a Simeon and a Polanco and a Bichette who's underperformed, I mean, you're talking about negative WAR guys. I didn't even know that was possible, but apparently that's possible. Like you guys, their production is so bad, it's in the negatives in terms of their overall WAR. This is who we got to replace our core guys that, hey, listen, I know that, it didn't end well last year. There was not a lot of stock in that. And you can speculate, yes, there was a lot going on in the clubhouse. Certain guys didn't mesh well, political values, the whole nine. I don't know. Wasn't there. We can only, take a look at the numbers and criticize it that way. But getting rid of all of them, not retaining Pete Alonso, being okay with the fact that you were really taking a huge gamble on this pitching staff, which even I, who was optimistic about this team, highlighted that, yeah, the pitching could be an issue. There's a lot of question marks there. The talent is there, but the inconsistency, the lack of reliability from this pitching staff in the past. Even a guy like David Peterson, who they just traded, love him. I do. I'm actually a bit upset to see Peterson go. I used to go to the ballpark and see him pitch a lot. Love David Peterson. Was a big part of that 2024 run. Hate to see him go. Kodai Senga, was there at his first game. The guy is a shell of himself who showed up on that first day. Jonah Tong, where you at? Gone. Again, the only bright spot has been Noah McLean. And even he has had some growing pains. It's not quite the Cam Schlittler like the Yankees have. And right now, I can't really say he's a true ace. And Freddie Peralta, who Stearns brought in, again, hasn't panned out. Guy can't pitch deep, can't go past 5 innings most of the time, if ever. That's your 1A guy? It was not good. It was not a well-constructed team, and of course, he's not going to say, "Oh yeah, I've considered stepping down." What do you expect a guy to say in that type of spot? But that smirk, that probably says it all. That's a guy that feels like he's got job security. That's what that tells me. That's a guy that's like, all right, I'm kind of untouchable at this point. The hell are you gonna do? And that's the problem that I have. I'll play Francisco Lindor's take on
It was
the
very
whole Medi
professional of him from his part to try to take the responsibility, but at the same time we felt Mendy. I felt Mendy. I didn't play to my capability to help him win as many games as we could, and this one's on us as well.
What was your reaction to just finding out the news today?
I was shocked, and it hurts. He's a great man. He's a great family man, and somebody that we appreciate and we care for him. And it was a shocking news, but obviously this is a decision that Stearns and the rest of the organization felt like it was going to be best for the organization at the moment. That was very professional of him from his part to try to take the
one more time.
Responsibility, but at the same time we felt Mendy. I felt Mendy. I didn't play to my capability to help him win as many games as we could, and this one's on us as well.
What was your reaction to just finding out the news today?
I was shocked, and it hurts. He's a great man. He's a great family man, and somebody that we appreciate and we care for him. And it was a shocking news, but obviously this is a decision that Stearns and the rest of the organization felt like it was going to be best for the organization at the moment. That was very professional of him from his part to try to take the
Sorry about that. A little distracted right there. I was responding back to a text message from my cousin over here. I got a little bit distracted. Listen, I've seen those bags under those eyes before. Yeah, Francisco going through it, man. Got all those kids. Katia, Lindor. Shout out to Katia. Love Katia. Love her content online. But that's a man that has been going through it right there. I see those bags. I know what those bags represent. All right. Could be recent, with the whole Mendy situation. But now Lindor back in the lineup. A lot going on, I'm sure. Still wondering whether or not he meshes well with Soto, by the way. But overall, I think the guys, at least the core guys here that remain, and really Lindor, Soto, and that's all we really care about and matter. I'm sure the young guys coming up, a bit impartial because they just haven't been around the club too long, so they may not have as big of a connection with Mendy, but he's been around. Some guys are familiar with him, some not. So overall, man, it's tough. You hate to see it happen. And again, there's no way in hell you could put all the blame, just to wrap it up in a bow a little bit. There's no way in hell you could put all the blame on Mendy for this. Like Lindor said, we failed Mendy. I failed Mendy. And they did. At the end of the day, the players have to play. David Stearns constructed this team, and they have underperformed in the back-to-back years, and seemingly have gotten worse in the process. But the money remains. They continue to spend astronomical monies, being the, I believe, second highest payroll in all of baseball outside of the Dodgers this year, if I'm not correct, or am I wrong? And they're the top. Either one, they're amongst the elite when it comes to the payroll. And truthfully, I just don't see it changing. Again, I could get behind you if you tell me, all right, they're penny pinching a little bit, not spending as much, kind of like the Yankees have in past years, where it's like, all right, they kind of strategically spending their money, but hey, it's panned out for the Yankees this year. They're looking good. They've had their success in years past, no doubt. They've been the better, consistent New York ball club, no doubt about it. And I thought it was the Mets, but in these last 2 years, specifically in the Steve Cohen tenure, you really can't make that argument anymore. You just can't. And this guy has got an endless wallet and still can't put together a club. And I don't know if it's because he doesn't have a grasp on the clubhouse and how these guys gel. That shit matters, man. Yes, you can buy talent, but you also need to find guys that gel and work together. You got to know if, some guys politically don't share some values and things like that. Maybe he went too strong on that, and that's why he gutted the core, whatever. But you gotta, that's why you gotta do recruiting. You gotta find guys that gel well together. You can't just look at it analytically and look at it in a book and say, yeah, statistically speaking, if I acquired all these men, they'll, we're assuming there'll be adequate production in the lineup. It's more to the game than just the numbers. You got to have the eye test, and I just don't think David Stearns has that eye test. There's nothing to indicate that he does. I'm sorry. Even when we acquired him, he's never won. He's had successful years, but he's never won it all. And how long is Steve Cohen going to keep him around until he gets fed up with it? Because I'll tell you what, the rest of the fan base, myself included, is completely fed up with it. And here we are. It's not even July. It's not even July, which, you know what, maybe that's actually good for the Mets. It's not even July, and the season seems like there's no hope in sight. Usually, right, come September, we already know it's over. But it's not even July. We haven't even hit July 4th. And we're kissing goodbye to season. Ridiculous, man. Ridiculous. And you know what? I'll play this one last clip. I was going to play from Gary Cohen. Maybe towards the end I'll play it tonight. But I'll play this one clip from Steve Gelbs because I do want to move on to the NBA. It's getting late. We're already at the top of the hour, 1 hour in. Again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Appreciate you. Nasty, thank you for hanging out in the chat and Twitch. If you're coming from YouTube, hey, drop a comment. Let me know you're here, what you like to talk about. You like my outfit today? Got the Sesame Street hat on. I think my cousin was commenting that via text before. Happy Friday. Hope you're having a good day, beautiful week, good weekend ahead, and the whole nine. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe and follow. Whatever you can do to support. All right. Greatly appreciated. Here is, this should just tell you everything. And this is before tonight's game. Steve Gelbs talking about the firing of Carlos Mendoza. And you have Mr. Met. And shout out to John Boy for the clip. You have Mr. Met in the background. Clearly talking about not having a read on things. Talking about not having a grasp on the situation. He decides now is a good time to photo or video bomb in this occasion. That now is a good time to video bomb Steve Gelbs as he's talking about the state of the Mets, kind of like we are tonight, and talking about the firing of Carlos Mendoza. You can't make this shit up.
For how the team got here, if there was, they'd fix it. There's a lot of layers to this, but what I will say is it's become clear that the Mets simply changed too much this offseason at one time.
I mean,
there's every reason in the world to say that last year's team collapsed. We're going to make some changes. But when you turn over the entire roster, the entire coaching staff, you answer for how the team got here. If there was, they fix it.
You see this, right? I mean, like that. This is all you need to know about the Mets. Whoever that is. By the way, I've heard that Mr. Met is a female. That is the rumor. It's not a male. So, and I don't care, male, female, whatever. I don't care. Whoever is under that freaking ball. Whatever they identify with, whoever they are, love them. And actually, I believe they got the Pride colors right there. So shout out, Pride Month, the whole nine. Happy Pride, everybody, as we close out Pride Month here in June. What a time to just an absolute flop of a moment. I mean, here is Steve trying to deliver a bit of State of the Union pre-game to tonight's Phillies-Mets matchup at Citi Field. They're fresh off of firing their head coach. And you got Mr. Met in the background, fucking around. You can't make it up, man. You can't make it up, people. This is my team, man. I'm so glad the Knicks won a championship. I'm not gonna lie. Because I swear to you, if the Knicks didn't win a championship, I would not be this jolly right now. I just wouldn't be. This would be angry. I mean, how could you not laugh? I don't even know. This is my team. This is the team. I hope Steve Cohen was watching this. All right. This is what you got. And I'm sure at the ball club, they're doing all the theatrics. They got the dance party team on top of the dugout. We're doing the whole thing, just... I heard a little controversy the other day that after the game that got rained out, in which they, forced the patrons to actually show up, the little bit of people that decided to show up, 30 minutes prior to the game, they ended up calling the game saying that due to, inclement weather, they're postponing it. When we all knew, everybody knew in the tri-state area that a big thunderstorm was on the way. And I had a softball game that night. It wasn't happening. You know, we all knew this. How come they didn't notice? And you know, and the Mets early on in the earlier part of the season were actually good about things like that. You know, giving away free vouchers and calling games early. And you know, we were actually criticizing the Yankees for not doing the same. And now it seems like they can't even do that right. They can't do anything right. Where you at, Steve? I want to hear from you. Why don't I have a Steve Cohen clip? I don't have a Steve Cohen tweet. Where's it at? So much for World Series in 5 years for the good old Metsies. All right. I'm going to leave it there for tonight in terms of the Mets. We're going to move on. I don't know how much longer I got going on for you tonight. So here at 11 o'clock hour, 11 p.m. Eastern Time, coming to you on the East Coast. Live on Twitch and YouTube. This is the live recording, episode 81 of the Epis Sports Podcast. Thank you for joining. Obviously, a bit of a state of the union for the Mets. I am a Mets fan. If you're new to the show, if you can't tell already, if you don't understand. But of course, we have to address the Carlos Mendoza. And again, it's pretty national news. All the outlets are covering it. You know, when you're one of the highest teams in terms of payroll, and you know, 14 games under 500, yeah, I think that deserves some national news. And they do. This is atrocious. By the way, Juan Soto, robbed of a home run tonight. And just as like a little bit of a topper for the Mets. Here you go.
Right center field. On the run is Hill. Out toward the wall. He jumps and he made the catch. Oh, what a play! He pulled it right back as it was going over the wall.
Yeah, that is definitely early catch of the year candidate right there. That is just phenomenal. Derek Hill. Go up and get it, my man. That is just beautiful. Robs Juan Soto of a homer. And just to put a little icing on the cake. And that's a big play. And a 2-1 victory for the Phillies tonight, by the way. So, yeah. Just not what you want to see. In other news, we got to feel good about this, right, Knicks fans? Come on, baby. We got our guy. He's back. Ian Begley confirms that Jose Alvarado will be returning to the Knicks on a multi-year deal. Alvarado declined his $4.5 million player option ahead of signing the new contract. So a little bit of a strategic move on their part. A lot of conversation about Dolan wanting to stay within the parameters of the second apron, which, if you don't know what that means, it's in regards to salary cap, luxury tax, the first apron, the second apron. If you're not familiar with the second apron, all right, I'll break it down for you right now. Okay. The second apron is an intense, punishing salary threshold induced in the 2023 CBA agreement. All right. It's to prevent super teams, essentially. All right. There's some key penalties in which that can occur if you go within the second apron, which is just a salary threshold. No contract aggregation, which means teams cannot combine multiple player salaries into a single package to match a higher incoming salary in a trade. No cash-in trades. Teams are prohibited from sending cash considerations to another organization to facilitate deals. Loss of mid-level exception. Teams cannot use the taxpayer mid-level exception to sign free agents. No trade exceptions Teams cannot use pre-existing trade exceptions to acquire players. Draft and future penalties, trade freezes, frozen picks. You get the idea. Here is the problem. And, I hear some people say, oh, well, who cares? Go into the second apron. Run it back. Let's bring everybody back. Let's bring Alvaro. Let's bring Mitch back. Let's bring Deuce, Shamit, the whole nine. And as much as I would love to see it, and I think it would be interesting to see it, I don't think it's a realistic possibility. I think at some point you do have to look towards the future. You got to believe in our guy Leon Rose, who seemingly constructed a team. Shout out to David Stearns. This is how you do it the right way. Pay attention to Leon Rose. You got to trust in him. You got to believe that if they feel like they need to stay within the confines of the first apron or even below that and find their way towards the luxury tax, which, might be an issue for them at this point because they're already retaining a lot of salary. But if there's a bit of restructuring going on with some of the contracts, especially Karl Anthony Towns, which is, being a rumor flirted around, who knows? I gotta put my stock in Rose, and I gotta believe that he's gonna do whatever it is necessary to get this team in the direction they need to be to potentially run it back. As much as I love Mitchell Robinson, and I would love to see him back on this team, he is probably my favorite player. I'm not even gonna lie to you. As a matter of fact, I am going to make my attempt to get Mitchell Robinson on this show. I will be reaching out to him in the next couple of days. Who knows if he comes on? Probably not, but I'm going to shoot my shot anyway. I think he'd be actually great for the mental health show. We've won a championship. We're at the highest pinnacle. I'm not going to knock Rose and all that for wanting, because it's really not up to Dolan at this point. I don't think Dolan's calling the shot. I really think Rose has got full autonomy and, he's calling the shots. If he feels as if you need to get within, below the second apron, then fine. If that means you got to shed a Mitchell Robinson, you got to shed a Shamit, as much as I would like to retain these type of guys, it is what it is. We've won the championship. Winning back-to-back championships is extremely hard. The parameters are set so that super teams don't exist, even though we've kind of seen it happen before, with, in OKC, with the Golden State, LA, Cleveland, even you could throw back in there in that conversation in the LeBron years. That's probably the reason why. Actually, these were even put in place is because of Cleveland or Golden State. You got to believe in Leon Rose. If they feel like this and that, I'm not going to be up here and criticizing. You're talking about freezing picks, trade freezes. Trade freezes is a bit of a problem, right? In case you need to, make something happen. That's it. But, apparently the trade freeze is only is a concern with a team over the second apron cannot trade a first-round pick 7 years into the future. So is that all damaging to them? If that's the only, issue, and then some frozen picks, and the frozen picks would be if a team remains in the second apron for 3 out of the 5 seasons, their first round pick is automatically moved to the very end of the first round, regardless of their actual record. Like, it's such like weird, quirky parameters that don't necessarily affect them in the now. It's more about a future thing. Hey, you know what? Maybe I heard Tommy from WFAN calling about it and talking about it and saying, you know what, screw it. You know, accept the penalties, run it back. Here's the problem. You could run it back, but there's other teams in the league right now getting better. And something just tells me that running it back is not going to quite do it completely. You have the starting five of this New York Knicks team together. That is locked. And that in itself should get you excited as a Knicks fan. What they need to really focus on is the depth, which they had. It brought them a championship. The Larry O'Brien is here. I believe it's at Tiffany's still in the city. You could go check it out. I don't know, unless it's like this weekend's the last weekend for it. But the boys brought that trophy home. We have it. It is ours. And I waited my whole life to see it, and I'm not really going to get too critical of Leon Rose if they want to shed some salary. I mean, you see an OKC do it. OKC just traded Isaiah Joe. I forgot where he went. Did he go to Minnesota? Where did Isaiah Joe get traded? Or was it Detroit? I think it was Detroit, yeah. Yeah, Pistons landed Isaiah Joe. And Isaiah Joe was, by the way, traded for an exchange for 2 future second-round picks. He was about, I think, 15 million on the books. OKC already coming in at $186 million salary. So they're well into the luxury tax, but that helps them a little bit here. It avoids the first apron for them. So maybe allows them to have a little bit of flexibility, and or they're just shedding some roster. It's come a time where OKC may not be apparently they're saying 11.7 million. I was reading earlier that he had more. Maybe it was the incentives, like bonuses or anything. I think it was like upwards of like 14, 15 million. But regardless, maybe even for OKC, this could be a bit of a, transitional, year. And maybe they may not be as good or the dynasty that we saw them as. Regardless, they're still up there as favorites. I believe Kalshi has them as the favorite. I don't know if that still remains after the Isaiah Joe trade today, but I can't imagine the Isaiah Joe trade is going to change those odds that much. Nonetheless, I bring all this up because of what's going on in the rest of the league. You see a lot of the trades. See Giannis Antetokounmpo going to Miami. Miami getting rid of Hero, a couple other players, picks, the whole nine. I hate this move for Milwaukee. At the same time, I feel like Milwaukee was just trying to find the best way to cash in regards to Giannis. I think the Knicks would have probably offered more. To be honest, I'm glad they didn't. And there's probably a couple other teams out there that maybe were willing to offer some more. I don't love this move for them. It wasn't necessarily necessary at the time for Milwaukee. But if Giannis wanted out, I guess it was kind of inevitable. And I don't love this move for Miami either. I just don't. Now the problem is you have Giannis and Bam, but you need somebody else. You need scorers there. Hero's gone. You have trouble. Now, I believe in the front office of Miami. I believe, in Pat Riley. I do. Is it possible that he can find somebody to pair up with these two and create a big three? No doubt. Right now, a lot of the rumors being thrown out there is Ja Morant. And honestly, I love that. It's probably the best fit. LaMelo Ball getting traded to Minnesota. Don't understand that move, by the way, from Charlotte. But nonetheless, it happened, and I love it for Minnesota. I cannot wait to watch Minnesota Timberwolves. By the way, they also got rid of Julius Randle. Julius Randle goes to Brooklyn. And that's a story in itself. If I have enough time, I'll go there. But Pat Riley has shown that he can do it in all facets of the game. He's been a winner virtually all of his life, and I have, this is a big acquisition for him. Will it come to fruition? It may, but I don't know if it's going to come now. Excuse me. I drink a little water. Throat was getting a little dry, talking too much. It has to come to fruition now. Because you're looking at this Eastern Conference, I was much more scared if Giannis went to Boston. I don't know, who they would have given up. Whether, clearly it seems like a Jaylen Brown, because now the Jaylen Brown rumors are being thrown out there, and seems like they're going to blow things up. Like, it's really getting primed for the Knicks to potentially have a back-to-back year. You got a lot of movement, a lot of good teams, but in the East, I'm not really seeing anybody come out and make that move that's going to rival what the Knicks were able to do. Now, again, the Knicks might have some depth issues because of who they're going to shed. But I also have faith that, even though I firmly believe Mitchell Robinson played a huge role in the Knicks championship, and I don't think the stats will ever show it. But just being a leader there and all nine and what he was able to do. I know Cat, was relentless against Wemby in the finals. But Mitchell Robinson was the glue to that team. He was the longest tenured Knick. It'd be a shame to see him go. And I think a lot of his value will be forever overlooked. I do think you could find similar production elsewhere at a much cheaper cost. Mitch going to cost you at least $15 million, maybe more. I think there's teams out there that are willing to take the gamble, even though he's injury prone, and spend $17 million, something like that. Like, where I just don't think the Knicks are willing to spend. Obviously, we know with the current situation, it would put them above the second apron, in which it seems like they're trying to avoid. So then the Knicks do have their depth issues going into this new season. But when you look around the East, again, I don't as the teams are currently constructed with Miami, with Giannis and Adebayo, that to me is not enough to scare the hell out of me. Boston, question marks all over. It looks like they're going to blow their situation up a little bit and trade Brown. Where Brown goes, I have no idea. If he goes to Miami, I don't know. I don't even know if that's financially feasible at this point. But wherever he might, that could shake things up, because he's a generational talent, no doubt about it. And he understands his value. And that's why these rumors are out there, because I just think there's a feud within the organization itself in Boston. And there's a disagreement about who their star is. All the love for Jason Tatum, but Jaylen Brown, he's up there. Now, both of those guys, at least Tatum's won it. A lot of people want to question his championship, but Brown, he was able to will his team to a playoff this year, but ultimately got knocked aside. Detroit, unless they make a polarizing move, if Jaylen Brown goes there, then I might have to change my tune a little bit. I might have to, woo. I don't know, Knickerbockers. I don't know if a back-to-back is in the cards. That would change it up. Yeah, bro, nasty and coming from Twitch. You didn't know about LaMelo Ball being traded? Oh man, crazy week for trades, bro. This it happened like 2 days ago, I believe. Yeah, man. Big news. Yeah, Ball. That changes up. And listen, Julius Randle traded to Brooklyn. I can't wait to see Minnesota. Minnesota's. Let me tell you. Let me just pull up Minnesota's lineup, man, because this is no joke now. This is no joke now. All right, you got Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, DiVincenzo, who we love, right? McDaniels, LaMelo Ball now. I mean, shit, bro. Like, defensively, not even offensively, because offensively, they're going to ball out. But defensively, this team is a very good watch. And I early dark horse for me to get to the Western Conference Finals, Minnesota Timberwolves. All right? I think it's going to be Minnesota Timberwolves or I think it's Minnesota there in the Western Conference Finals going up against either OKC or the Spurs again. That's just my early prediction on things. I might change that prediction with OKC or the Spurs, because I don't think the Spurs ever return to a finals. By that way, I don't think that happens. I think Victor Wembanyama told you in the post-game presser against the Knicks that he told the journalist, as immature as it may be, I think he manifested his own future, and he told you, "I'll never see you again." And I think he's 100% right. I think he's correct. I don't think he'll ever, be back to as good as he is. I just don't see it. And I'm going purely on vibes on that one, by the way, because when you look at the roster construction of that team and whether or not they make a move this offseason that could potentially, improve the team, there's really no other reason for me to believe otherwise that they can't return to an NBA Finals. It's just something about that Wemby that I feel like they will not be back. But this team right here, the Minnesota Timberwolves, after acquiring, again, they had a hell of a year, man, but they just fell short. They ran into a great Spurs team. And of course, typical Julius Randle. Typical Julius Randle just falling short. And showing up in an elimination, not showing up in an elimination game. Yeah, they got Ayo Dosunmu. Yeah. Isaiah Evans, Mike Conley, Jalen Clark, Joe Behringer, LaMelo Ball, Kyle Anderson, Ayo, Enrique, Gobert, Josh Green, Jaden McDaniels. They got some players, man. That's a much better Minnesota team than what they had last year. And LaMelo Ball, could you imagine LaMelo Ball and Anthony Edwards together at a post-game presser? These two? Some of the most prolific, aura-inducing faces in the league. You could throw Dante in there as well. this is going to be absolute cinema for Minnesota next year. I'm looking forward to them, man. I'm looking forward to them. I'm rooting for them, especially because they're in the West. I could care less, right? They don't affect the Knicks too much until we get to a finals. But this is a good team, and it's not. It doesn't even guarantee. I don't know where they're at salary wise. I could take a quick look, but I don't think salary wise they're in a position where they got some big salaries. They got LaMelo Ball, obviously now 38 million. Vincenzo 12 million. Anthony Edwards 46. Rudy Gobert 36. So they got some big salary guys, no doubt. McDaniels 25. But other than that, it's some pretty low contract salaries. I got to add it up and see where they stand. Maybe this could be it for the roster construction for them, but maybe not. 1 or 2 more moves and, light moves. Obviously, not like huge moves, but, just to add to that depth a little bit. And, in the NBA, you can find that. You can find a diamond in the rough easily, You can find an Alvarado, you sham it, to help bolster that roster. It's a good dark horse team going into next year. And this LaMelo Ball trade, great for him. Love to see it. You hear news about LaMelo's dad, divorcing his wife, long-term wife, after a long time having the 3 kids, the whole 9. A lot going on with the Ball family, but there was one bright spot with LaMelo and his talent and his ability and what he's been able to do, and him coming here. He's been the one brother that did, pan out in the NBA, and he's phenomenal. Say what you will about him, the theatrics, the whole 9, but he is damn good. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see it. I thought Minnesota fell short this year. I thought Anthony Edwards was really going to take that next step. Got close, I suppose. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh on him. Again, running into a great Spurs team. Obviously, they were, they took down the defending champs. They, were great in their own right. Hard to really argue that, Minnesota was underachieving. I just think the West was pretty damn stacked, and they did what they did, but they improved. They had what they had, right? Julius Randle, again, no show, come elimination game. As Knicks fans, that ain't nothing new. We expected this of him. So now we're looking at that roster going ahead and saying, well, you know what? There's a team. Again, going back to the Miami point, I'm not, it's all right. Yeah, you got Giannis. I'm sure in South Beach, they are just all up in arms. Let's see how it plays out, man. You're going to be an all-time defensive team. And, defense wins championships at times, but you need some offense, especially in this NBA. I don't know how those two are even going to work together well on the floor. We don't even know if they can coexist in that sense. They're going to have to. You can't play them separately. You can't have one of them coming off the bench and doing that, or maybe starting both and then changing up the rotations as you go along. That's not practical, for Miami. And again, you got some other question marks in the East right now. Still early. I don't want to get into it too much. We had to draft. Debanza goes to the Washington Wizards, forward out of BYU. Peterson, the guard from Kansas, goes second to Utah. Little bit of controversy there. The young Boozer. Yes, indeed. You know the name, Boozer. The second coming. The forward out of Duke. Pick number 3 for the Memphis Grizzlies. That's a nice one for them. A lot of trades in this draft. That was kind of unprecedented. It was like a 40-plus trade, something like that. Just astronomical numbers, most of it which coming in the second round. The Knicks did a lot of trading. They only retained, I believe, 2 players. Nobody noteworthy. We'll see how it comes. Off the top of my head, I can't even think of the names. But again, off the top, Washington, which is a good fit. There's a new big three in Washington. You got the kid DeBanza out of BYU, 6'9", 217 pounds. I've heard rumors linked to Durant, things like that. We'll see. I don't want to put too much stock on it. DeBanza, AJ, he didn't have the hype that Cooper Flagg had coming into this draft. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he may not pan out and be a hell of a player. Him teaming up with Trae Young and AD in Washington, hey, man, that's a 3. But, and they got Champagny, too. That's new as well. Justin Champagny, I would love to call him Champagny. So, there's a team. They got Vucevic, Cam Whitmore. They got a nice little team, but you're talking about a 17-65 Wizards team, who obviously, Trae Young, AD, they weren't even playing. They were in tank mode. They got their guy. All right, let's see what you can do coming off a 17-65 year. You honestly think you're going to just translate that into a championship? The brittle bone Anthony Davis, who is out, on any little injury. I mean, come on, man. I'm not going to put too much stock on it. I'll see it. And that's on the assumption that DeBanza is even going to be a true number one, is going to be a franchise-type player. It's nice to see. Wizards, certainly, it's a new era, fine. They got the old Nick Villain and Trae Young. They got Anthony Davis. I'm sure we're going to see some highlights. But let's see, man. Can Davis even stay healthy? Can this big three even play and perform together? There's a lot of, knock on wood. Does DeBanza, stay healthy? And a lot of expectations when you're a first overall pick. Can he live up to the hype? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I know anything about the young man and whether or not he is the second coming of, Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant or what have you, or Jalen Brunson or Kevin Durant, apparently, as they so compare him to. I don't know. But a hot week in terms of the NBA trade deadline, nonetheless. Not NBA trade deadline, excuse me. Tired. It's been a long day. Happy Friday, everyone. After the NBA draft, during the NBA draft, after it, all night, it's just been a lot of movement around the league. A lot of big names being shipped around. And is that it? Are we going to hear more? I think it's safe to say we're not done yet in that sense. And then as a local New York Knicks fan, you come from New York, you're listening. What are we going to do about our depth? What are the some of the moves that Leon Rose is going to make and all that? It's very questionable. I'd love to see Mitchell Robinson come back and the Knicks retain him, but sadly, I just don't think it's going to happen. I do think they retain Shamet, but I think Mitch is on his way out, unfortunately. I would hate to see it. I don't know who they find to replace him. I don't have any good prospects for you at the moment. That's going to be interesting to see if it indeed does come to that. But we'll see. It's going to be an ongoing discussion for sure. All right. Moving on a little bit. The vibes are right here on this Friday night. Not going to be on here much longer. We're about an hour 40 in almost coming up. Here live on Twitch and YouTube. Nasty says they got two players and it's him and Bam. Yeah, I mean, we're talking about Miami a little bit, acquiring Giannis and joining Bam Adebayo. As much as I like Bam, as the way the roster is currently constructed, it ain't happening. Don't put too much stock in it. All right. Before we get out of here tonight, gonna talk a little bit about the World Cup festivities. I did have some more topics I wanted to get into, but we'll hold it for another show. Okay, again, thank you for joining me live on Twitch and YouTube. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe. FIFA World Cup has been going on right now as we speak, as I come live to you. All right. Where is it? Oh, God. Pro stream. There you go. We got Egypt and Iran going right now, 1-1, as they're about to head into the first half intermission. They're in the 44th minute. Senegal with just absolute spanking over Iraq today, 5-0. You got Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, I believe two teams that are out of it. I'm not sure. I believe they're out of it. In terms of advancing to the round of 32. They ended up in a 0-0 draw, 0-0 draw. And France, Norway, that was the big story out of today. France winning 4-1 over Norway. Spain, by the way, taking a 1-0 victory over Uruguay. But some people really criticize the fact that Holland did not participate in today's game for Norway. And, obviously being their star player, why wouldn't, he participate? Well, here's the deal. And this is just as a very lightly, football follower, giving you the breakdown of this whole situation. Mathematically speaking, it was unnecessary for Holland to participate in this game. And what ended up happening is Ousmane Dembele, a great player for France, ended up having a wonderful hat trick, scoring in the 7th, 20th, and 32nd minute. All three goals coming in the first half of this game. So Norway essentially out of it early, down 3-1 as they head into the second half of this game. France did score in the 90th in the extra time as the game was coming to an end, and a desperation time for Norway. Again, France ending the group with 9 points, Norway ending it with 6. It was up for grabs. The top seed was certainly within reach here. It was either France or Norway, and Holland and Norway opted to sit him. Or he opted to sit himself. I don't know the situation too well in regards to that. I don't know who's making that decision. But either way, nonetheless, you have a position here to be top of your group, to get the best seeding possible in terms of competitive play. And they kind of conceded to being second of their group. And maybe they feel like that's the better potential matchup. I don't know. Kind of hard to make those decisions if you're a true winner, if you're a team that's trying to get it done, in which Norway, certainly, they're in the conversation. I wouldn't say they're perennial favorites by any means, but they're certainly a team, especially when you have a guy like Holland on the team, that, yeah, you got to look at it and say, this is a team that could potentially, go deep, at least in this tournament. And you would think, playing their best players when they're available, if they're available, is the recipe to success. And they just concede, hey, you know what? We're okay. We're okay with being losers today. We're okay with sitting out and, taking the gas off the pedal. And we're going to let France walk away to this easy victory and not make it even competitive by sitting our star player. and we'll see how it goes in the round of 32. So that's where you're at with Norway. Big, games yesterday. Ecuador with a big win. The streets of Jackson Heights were just, it looked like Times Square when the Knicks, won, or 7th Avenue when the Knicks won, the finals, or, throughout the playoffs. I mean, Jackson Heights was just shut down. I've seen videos of it. People jumping up on top of cars, going crazy. The horns are out. The chants are out. Just people all night long, late into the night, celebrating, having a good time. Jackson Heights, if you don't know, here in Queens, Corona as well, East Elmhurst, that whole general area, including Astoria. I'll throw in Astoria as well. Great football towns, great football areas, and just the passion runs deep in a lot of different ethnic backgrounds, whether it be, Argentinians, Ecuadorians, Venezuelans. Shout out to Venezuela, everything that they're dealing with the earthquake, whole nine. Just devastating news coming out of Venezuela, the whole night, just hundreds of people, lives lost, and hundreds of thousands potentially affected, and if not more, deceased. Just devastating news. While all that's going on, again, the passion for football runs deep in these areas of Queens. It's nice to see, and I got a couple of friends come from Ecuador, big fans of the team. Happy for them to celebrate. Awesome. And you just see it. And I think this is why I just wanted to get into this whole topic. USA, by the way, lost last night to Turkey. It's all right. Don't worry about it. They, again, another irrelevant game. They're the leaders of their group. They're moving on. They'll be playing Bosnia Wednesday, 8 p.m. in, I believe it was San Francisco. I believe so. San Francisco, 8 p.m. So check that out. USA, looking good. I know they lost this one late to Turkey. Again, wasn't a game that they really needed. Not sure if that matters enough, but it happened. But mainly, I really wanted to touch, as we get later into the World Cup on here on Epis, I'll get more in depth about the games. Yeah, I'll get more, tuned in with it. I've been watching. I just haven't been locked in at times. Obviously, big storylines with Messi, Ronaldo, Portugal, Argentina. They certainly look like they're primed to potentially meet in what can be a clash of the ages, one last dance, if you will, for these two guys. So I'm really looking forward to that. If you're a true football fan, of course you will. I don't know what side you're on, Ronaldo, Messi. I'm a Messi guy. But, nonetheless, it's a beautiful thing. Part of me wanted to protest the World Cup a little bit just because of this current administration all night. It's just something that... kind of irked me a little bit. I'm not, obviously with the whole immigration status, ICE, the whole thing, and it's everything that's taken place in America the past year and a half in the 10 years of Donald Trump. I wasn't sure if I was going to come on here and promote it and talk about it, and I've decided to go on that side of it and talk, and here I am and doing it, and I'm not in regret of it. But, let me be clear. I'm just, it's so very hypocritical of this nation. You want to talk about illegal immigrant, undocumented immigrant, legal immigrants, whatever have you. This nation itself is built on immigrants, whether they be illegal, documented, undocumented, the whole nine. The hypocrisy from a great portion of this nation. And here we are now celebrating these immigrants. We're embracing their cultures. We're embracing their passion, their sports passion, the whole nine. And just a couple of months ago, we were sending them out in droves. Those very same people that we are now, around and celebrating with, or just people that are similar to those that we so sadly deported. Here we are celebrating their culture, celebrating the passion, celebrating the people, the sport that is built on immigrant. I mean, the World Cup, it's the World Cup. It's not the USA Cup. It's not the MLS, in which has a bunch of immigrants in itself, by the way. Lionel Messi himself has been playing in the MLS for years now. Guy refuses to speak English, and yet he's celebrated in Miami. If you don't know that about Messi, he refuses to speak English. He hates American culture. And yet all eyes are on Messi, Messi, Messi. Go! I'm just putting that out there. I'm pointing out the hypocrisy because that is truly ridiculous. And I know I can separate the political aspects of things and separate the two sides, but even on a geopolitical aspect of things, you got Iran playing games where after each game they got to freaking leave the country. They have to self-deport after every freaking World Cup game they play in the States because of the current war conflict. Is that fair to the players? Are they war criminals? What do I know? I'm not gonna, sit up here and pretend I'm knowledgeable to all things, in geopolitics all night. I'm not. I'm not the person you should come to in regards to that. But I do have an opinion. I am a person. I do exist, and I am here. And I have emotions. I have feelings. The whole night. I have a family. I have a wife and kids, and I have a voice. And I have a platform, and I'm gonna speak about it. On a more positive note, before I finally get out of here, as we are approaching the 2-hour mark here on episode 81, I do want to speak about those said immigrants. I do want to speak about the passion of these sport fans, and I want American sport fans to take notice. And I want to highlight that. You see the chance of Norway. You see the Scots take over Boston and go to a Red Sox game. They're filling the streets. They're getting there. They're drinking so much beer. They're running out of beer in Boston. Who knew that was even possible? They're at the ball games in Boston and Citi Field and all over the country. They're in Times Square. They're in the streets. They're filling the streets out in California. They're all over the place. They're singing songs, the chants, all night. Take notes, my American sports fan. This is what a passionate fan base truly looks like. This is what a fan base should be. Unrivaled passion and just utter love and commitment to your squad. Down to the teams like a Cape Verde, teams who don't really truthfully have any hope in advancing and going forward and winning the World Cup, but yet the chance, the possibility at advancing and just being there, representing their country, it means the world to them. I mean, it's amazing to me. You see it was, mentioned earlier, Ecuador celebrating in the streets, and I'm sure all over the world, but here in New York and Jackson, it's just taking over. A lot of Ecuadorian fans, a lot of people from Ecuador. They're celebrating as if, It's similar to the Knicks winning the championship. Like, this is it, for them. Meanwhile, this is a team that, could potentially go deep here in this tournament. But just the chance of making a round of 32 excites that fan base to levels, certain proportions that you couldn't even imagine. And I'm just saying, American sport fans, you're a little soft. You're a little soft in your pageantry, even when it comes to the USA soccer, football. It's not the same. And I'm not going to pretend I'm over here. I'm out there in the streets, chanting all that. Listen, maybe I have a good excuse. I got a lot going on as is. I can't just be out there chanting, but, would I like to be out there and support? No doubt I would. If the opportunity crossed itself, damn straight I'd be there. I looked into potentially going to some World Cup games, not American World Cup games, to be honest with you. I was looking at some other potential prospects of some other teams I'd like to see. And like I said, maybe I get a chance when I go out to San Francisco. I'll be out there in a couple of weeks. And, I won't be too far from Levi Stadium, and we'll see if I might have the opportunity. What is my wife ordering? I'm getting notifications. Oh boy. Look at her. Shame. This is why I'll never stay skinny, ladies and gentlemen. Because my wife is ordering McDonald's at 11:59 at night. And I can almost guarantee she didn't consult me on this purchase. All right, this is a random, in the moment purchase. Usually, I'm at fault for it. I'd be the first to say that, I'll hit her up. Hey, let me get a double quarter pounder with cheese. Maybe not at 12 o'clock at night. Usually, I have a limit. If it's like 11:30, I'm calling it quits. We're not having a second dinner scenario. On a night like tonight, I gotta say, hanging out, streaming a little bit, might want a little bit. I didn't have a big dinner, and we actually have leftover food, which is crazy. So it's not even like we don't even have food to eat. There is food available, so now we're getting more food on top of the food that we already have. I'm not saying I'm complaining. If my wife is out there listening, and I'm pretty sure she is. It's a part of why I love her. But this is why I'll never be. This is why I have to run 6 miles a day. You understand me? Do you get it now, people out there listening? Or if you don't know, I'm a runner. I run like 30 plus miles a week. Just to maintain this, all right? This is what I got. This is what I got to do. Because we're having double quarter pounder with cheese at 12 o'clock at night. Oh, man. It's a beautiful thing, man. I'm not complaining, man. Get yourself a Dorothy. YOLO. You only live once. Have a good time. Eat a cheeseburger at night. You should work out, though. You can't just do that and, not do anything. It's not recommended. It's not a good thing. Do I got any other news for you before I close it out and get out of here? Again, Linda Cohn. Shout out to you, man, for having a hell of a career, hanging up the laces, if you will, and moving on. Obviously, the big topic of the show earlier on with Carlos Mendoza, fired. He becomes the official fall guy. Andy Green takes over as the interim coach. There's already rumors Albert Pujols coming back, coming around, and maybe coaching the Mets next year. Who knows? Probably will not be Andy Green come next year. Stearns, I think we're all in agreement that he should have been fired as well. If not now, maybe sooner or definitely later. But something tells me that just won't be the case. Tough state of affairs for the New York Mets and where we're at as a ball club. A damn shame. Ooh, this is a good one. I'll end this one because we are still celebrating Pride, as June is the Pride month, and a lot of Pride nights going around in sports as they normally do throughout the month of Pride here in June. And something happened in San Francisco that is worth noting from the players themselves. The San Francisco players themselves deciding to not wear the Pride Night gear that the Giants had set up for them. Some of them refusing to wear the hats, some putting on Bible verses on their hats, as a kind of a form of protest against them. And listen, if you're new to the show, if you're just listening first time, you want to know, I fully support, the gay community. I am a member of the gay community. Just saying, I identify as a pansexual man. If you don't know what that is, feel free to look it up. That's what I am, and that's what I'm about. And I fully support anything related to the gay community in that type of way. And just awareness is necessary, is key because of shit like this. And I'll talk more on it after I played a clip for you. So.
This is the first time I've ever been embarrassed to be a Giants fan. I mean, it was shocking. I never would have expected that from this team. And once it did happen, I would have expected a reaction. And the fact that neither of those things are happening is just, I feel like I don't even know this team anymore. I haven't missed an opening day except for COVID year. I every Star Wars Day, every Fan Fest, every Fan Appreciation Day, this was supposed to be my happy place. This is a place that I go to feel joy and connection with my community, and they've taken that. They've ruined it. So I don't want to be part of it. I gave all my tickets away. I canceled all my subscriptions. They're not going to get a cent from me. And I'm encouraging all of my friends to do the same. And the thing is, I really want to go back in that park. I want to go in there and feel good about it. I want them to do something that makes me feel good about it. I don't want to not be in there. I love this place, but what else am I going to do? Because at the end of the day, being a decent human being and standing up for civil rights is more important than baseball. And there's very few things in my life that are more important than baseball, but that is one. Well, at the end of every game, they play I Left My Heart in San Francisco, and I would sing it with my family, would put our arms around each other and sing, and it was just and for this to happen here, it truly broke my heart. And so it broke my heart in San Francisco. This is the first time I've ever...
You hear from the lifelong Giants fan, speaks about the Giants pitchers who protested the team's annual Pride Night. This is 11 days after the situation. And again, Task come for Twitch. Thank you for sharing, Task. Appreciate you. As always, keep showing up, saying I'm by. Listen, there's a lot of members of my community. There's a lot of people I know. There's a lot of people in my family, that are part of the gay community, and again, including myself. And so this strikes home for me, especially in here's why I agree with this protest, and it's just so much more evident in today's day. Here, you would think in 2026, this is still not necessary, but yet it is. And I applaud this man or whoever, however he identifies as. I applaud them for, taking this stand and truly, if he did, sell his season tickets, it's a shame that he feels the need to, but I respect it completely, 100% wholeheartedly. It's a shame to see members of the Giants team take that type of stance. I just don't understand how being gay, especially if you're not gay and you're not a part of the gay community, how it affects you on any level. And if religion is that key deciding factor, you need to reevaluate yourself and your life. I mean, even the Vatican themselves, the Pope has acknowledged the gay community and acknowledged their existence and our existence, and what we mean to this world. And if you are not up to speed with that, you focus on the Old Testament and the old teachings of the Bible and whatever, what have you. It's just equivalent up there in terms of how racism is viewed and still vocally present in our everyday life. I mean, literally just 2 days ago at work, I literally had a patient say to me, as I walked past her, it was a weird interaction with her. Initially, I received attitude from the jump, just calling the person in to draw blood and get their labs done. You could tell this woman was just not having it from the second I opened my mouth and I said her name. She ended up later, as I was walking past her in the hallway, ended up muttering under her breath, "Fucking faggot." Now, this woman doesn't know that I'm gay or whatever, or what I identify as, or anything like that. I've interacted with her a few times over the years, but really, truthfully, that's I get it. You're dying of cancer, whatever your situation is, because I don't know all the details all night, but I can only assume it's not good for you. You're having a bad day, you're stressed, whatever. That's enough to justify calling me a faggot? And this is why protests like this matter. This is why we have to continue to spread awareness. This is why we have a Pride Month. It's not only a celebration of pride, but it is to raise awareness. It is to shine a light on a situation, on an oppressed people. And here we are in 2026 still dealing with this bullshit. And you have players not only on this team, but on, I can almost guarantee on every single, not guarantee, but I would bet that at least one person on every single Major League Baseball team shares these types of negative viewpoints. Meanwhile, you can also make the argument that on every single one of these Major League Baseball teams, including organization, personnel, the whole nine, there is somebody, whether they're in the clubhouse, the vendors at these ballparks, somebody there is gay. And probably more than you think. Or more than you'll ever know. And the reason why we don't know is because of shit like this. Because we live in a world where people still are afraid to come out and share their story and share their journey and who they are and be themselves. I've been very vocal about my sexuality, about what I believe in over the past couple of years. It's been something that I've had to discover about myself growing up. I didn't know this about myself. It was something that I discovered later on in life because I always grew up not necessarily or being told that gay wasn't good, like that gay is not right. Like you have these outside influence. I had friends, family, whatever, sharing bigoted ideas, outdated ideas. At the same time, I also had the other side of the coin. I had aunties, gay. My grandmother, gay. You know, so I had best of both worlds. I knew that there was a normalization to it. Nismo, what's going on, Niz? How you doing? Sorry, kind of going off on my rant here. Taz chilling. Taz coming from Twitch. I was on radiotherapy when they thought I had cancer. Still, that is no excuse to use the F slur, let alone to use it like a dagger trying to hurt the feelings of anyone. Absolutely, Taz. It's just insane. And again, I don't know the woman's diagnosis or situation in general, but I know she's not well. Does it give you the excuse to call somebody a faggot? No, it does not. Does it give you the excuse to be racist, a bigot, anything? No, it does not. Can you just be a decent fucking human being? Yes, you should be. And again, when it comes to the gay thing, what the fuck does it matter to you? Truthfully, whatever anybody's sexual orientation, whatever they identify with, again, why does it matter to you? Because the Bible told you so? Yeah, I hate to break it to you. I know, a lot of religious people out there, but you see it in animals, you see it in human beings over the decades and just the history of time. It's etched in the stone walls. The signs are there. It was Adam and Eve and Steve. I love that line, and I'll forever die on that cliff. Truthfully, if that's something that you don't align with, I really, truthfully believe you have to reevaluate your morals. And I respect your straightism, whatever you being straight, like, that's cool. You have that conventional, that traditional idea of, oh, you're supposed to be a man and a woman and white picket fence and my kids aren't gay. All right, fine. I don't know how that benefits you. I don't know how that helps anything. I could care less if my kids turn out to be gay. Could care absolutely. I almost promote it. Fuck it. I joke all the time with my wife. Charlie's gay. Like, it's just, he's gay. He's gay. We say that about, our other kids growing up. Oh, watch out for the girls, Tommy. Well, we raise them to being straight. Why can't we raise them to be gay? I know that will trigger a lot of fucking people if they hear that, by the way. So this is some very late night Epis. Friday. On a Friday night. It is Saturday morning. It is that late. My God. Thank you if you're still here with me live on Twitch and YouTube. Again, if any of this bothers you, then by all means, you're following me. Unsubscribe, unfollow. This is a safe place. This has always been a safe platform here at Epis Radio, and that will always remain to be the case. And I'm with this San Francisco fan who, has taken that strong but necessary stance in boycotting the New York Giants and the organization for allowing this type of behavior, and albeit subtle in nature, from these Giants pitchers, writing the Bible verses on the hat, not wanting to take part in the Pride Night apparel, and wearing certain things. Fine. Take that stance as if it really matters to you. But I applaud the man for taking that stance. It's interesting, like, I think of it for myself, even though the Mets have been very, prideful in Pride Night. Like they do it, they do their thing. So no issues there. They're also kind of helping support the Israeli people, which is essentially supporting a genocide. And I don't know if I'm morally corrupt there. You know, Steve Cohen did donate quite a few $1,000,000, if not more, to an Israeli hospital and or organization that, you know, is focused in the Israeli people. Am I wrong for wanting to go to a Met game for that? I don't know. We could have that debate. I don't know, like, if I had the opportunity to go to a San Francisco game, would I pass out? Like, to be honest with you, like, going to San Francisco, that's one of my, like, bucket list stadiums to go to. And I kind of feel a bit conflicted now. Do I go? I have the potential opportunity to go in a couple of weeks. Do I not go out of protest now? Do I never go there, even though that was a bucket list destination of mine? Is me buying the one ticket morally corrupt? I don't know. Tough to say. Tough to say. On that note, I think I'll probably leave it there. A lot of good discussion tonight. A lot going on, obviously, in the sports world. You got the baseball. You got the Mets news. You got all the NBA trades. You think the NBA news was over after the finals, the Knicks winning, and all of a sudden, all these, you know, the draft comes, all these trades hit, and shit just breaks loose. Here, just one last, you know, and maybe this is telling in itself. But here's good old Buster Posey, long tenure Giant, and now front office.
I'd like to recognize that the organization has shared its response to Pride Night, and I understand that there's strong feelings on this topic. There's differing perspectives, and out of respect to everybody involved, it's not something that I'm going to revisit. I understand that some fans are upset and frustrated, and I can promise you this is something that we've talked about a lot internally and will continue to do so. You know, our focus is on the team right now, the upcoming draft, the trade deadline, and trying to win games. So anybody that has baseball questions, I'm happy to take baseball questions from you now.
Did you object to those nights when you were a player? And also, did you or anyone from the organization talk to Tony, talk to the players, and explain the importance of this demographic to your business, the importance of this evening for the fans?
I mentioned that I'm not going to revisit it, so if you want to ask baseball questions, I'll answer baseball questions.
Were you planning to reach out to the gay community about any of this, or no?
Again, if you want to go baseball questions, I made my statement on it. I'll answer baseball questions.
But do you have no response to the commissioner saying inadequate and unclear communication coming from the
I'll answer baseball questions.
Buster, why do you want to only answer baseball questions? There's some very important matters that the public is debating outside this organization.
I'm going to answer baseball questions.
Do you feel it's not your job as president of baseball operations? I mean, is this something we should be talking to Larry about?
Guys, you just need to keep it baseball related.
You guys have made this baseball related because you had Pride Night.
Right.
You allowed players onto the field that MLB said should not have had writing on their caps, violated MLB rules. Then MLB said that you guys didn't communicate with the players properly, that they didn't have to wear the hat.
Right.
So there's been no response about that.
We get it. Buster made a statement. If you guys have any baseball questions, you can answer
man.
those.
Well, talk about deflecting,
I'd like to
man.
recognize
Like, that
that
is crazy. I mean, that's just poor. And let's just be very clear. where do we all think Buster Posey stands on that side of the story? Because I'm sure if he was in support of the gay community, we would not be getting that response. So, and, you know, a player that I loved watch growing up, that 09, can't say that I'm necessarily surprised, but it's just more of the same bullshit, man, you know? And the fact that you just can't even talk about it, you're not even gonna field the questions. You're just gonna straight up refuse. Like, talk about being manly, you know, like, face the music, dude. Talk about it. Stand on that ledge, man. You're against the gay shit, talk about it. You don't want to because you know what it's gonna happen to you after that. But stand on that hill. Be prideful of your straightness. I love one comment here in this thread, and shout out to NBC for that soundbite. There's a comment on the thread from Matt Walks. He says, "Do you need a straight night? Question mark. Do you feel underrepresented or marginalized or out of place? As straight dudes, do we ever feel unwelcome at the ballpark for the other 161 games? The fact that some of these guys are too insecure to wear a rainbow hat one night a year is wild." Well said, well said, well said. I'm gonna that deserves a heart right there. Shout out to Matt Walks, and couldn't agree more. You're that insecure, you can't just wear the fucking rainbow one night. You know, do you like not wear pink? Can you not do that? Like, if you see a rainbow, do you shy away? Like, what are we talking about, man? What's it to you? Who cares? I bet you his teammates on the bench over there, you know, the guys that are protesting the pride hats and all that, but there's somebody there gay. And how do you think that makes them feel? To die on that hill, man, to really, you know, take that harsh stance of, well, you know, it should only between be a man and a woman. I mean, how fucking archaic. How childish. Use all the holes, right? You know, it's all good. There's that great joke from Louis C.K. He's talking about Jesus, you know, resurrecting and, you know, clearing some shit up. And his whole premise, you know, skit was, you know, Jesus could clear up, you know, some things pretty quick, and those were one of the things. Said that, you know, he use all the holes. That was, you know, and I referenced it before. You know, it was Adam and Eve and Steve. And I truly believe that. I'm not wrong. I know I'm not wrong because of the millions and millions of gay people out there. Shit, my wife is bi, you know? We got Task hanging out with us. Thanks for sharing tonight, Task. You're bi. I identify as pansexual. We're all over the place, man. Have a good time. Enjoy yourself. If you're not gay, all right, then don't be gay. There's no gay person running around trying to rape you. That just doesn't exist. You know? You're not going to magically fall onto a penis, or, you know, if you're a woman that's straight and against gays, you know, you're not going to magically fall into the lap of a, you know, woman or some shit. I don't know, whatever the, you know, whatever the opposite of falling onto the penis is. I can't believe I even need to say this, have this conversation. But here we are. It's 2026 and we're still having fucking conversations like this. And that's why we need a Pride Month. That's why we need Pride Nights. To spread that awareness and to celebrate our pride as a people. Very similar to Black Lives Matter. Very similar to all that. Juneteenth. It's a celebration. Why do we have these things? Well, because of shit like this. And it's a very certain demographic in the States specifically that seems to be against it. I'm going to leave it up to you to figure out what that demographic is. Scissor, but you know, Nasty, I fucking hate you, Nasty. Scissor, bro. I was gonna say Scissor. I was, but like as I was like saying the sentence, it just didn't like seem right. I was trying to figure out another way. I don't know, part of me was avoiding the whole Scissor thing. Not that I just didn't feel like it was a right comparison or whatever. But you're right, though. It's the only comparison. So that's funny. Thank you, Nasty, for hanging out, man. Task, it's been a great show. Nismo, thanks for showing up. All here on Twitch. Appreciate you. Thanks for everybody that showed up to the Twitch stream, to the YouTube stream as well tonight. Again, always love the support. It's been a beautiful Friday night Epis. I love doing these episodes. Can't get enough of it. The show, the content has been in a nice little space lately, and it's awesome to have the members of the community stop by, especially members of Shiv Nation hanging out. As always, we always appreciate you guys. Couldn't appreciate you more. Beautiful discussions all around tonight. A lot of sports, a little politics, a little controversy, all of that. If you didn't get a chance to catch all of it, please check out the final edited version up on YouTube tomorrow. All right, keep those notifications on. I will have it probably posted later in the afternoon/evening. So please, and again, if you can, to help us grow, to help the show grow, the whole nine, and help support the channel, please like, comment, share, subscribe, follow, the whole nine. This concludes today's episode of Epis Radio, of the Epis Sports Podcast, episode 81. It's your boy, Matty B from Epis Radio Entertainment. Thank you for joining me. As always, I'm going to hit you with a nice little outro. Shout out to my boy, Ralphie, who's he confided in me. He's like, I missed that song. I usually play this song for the mental health show. I usually play a clip of it at the beginning of the top of the show for the sports shows, but not the full song. This is a song from a band called Vanilla. It's an instrumental song, Searching. I hope you enjoy, and I hope all of you have a beautiful weekend. Join me here live on Twitch and YouTube and my co-host Deanna Estol for another episode of the Mental Health Podcast on Sunday, either 11 a.m. or 12 p.m. We're not quite sure on that, so I will be notifying you. I will be throwing out those notifications early enough for you to get it, but either 11 or 12 Sunday, another edition of Mental Health with Epis. I'd appreciate it if you guys could show up for that. All right, everybody. Have a beautiful, technically Saturday morning, still a Friday night for me and you as you're watching live. Until next time, everybody. It's your boy, Matty B. Epis Radio.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
There's that good song. There's that good song. Ralphie!
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
Task, it's right now, it's 12 p.m. on Sunday, but I might change it to 11 a.m. So if you can pop around for that, please join in. I'll send you a message. Everybody have a beautiful night. Keep showing up as always. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment. Thank you for joining me. I hope you find some kind of peace of mind.